In this video, let's take a comparative look at two broad categories of credit risk models. These are structural models and reduced form models. This video will be of interest to FRM Part 2 candidates and also to CFA Level 2 candidates. Let's begin with the essential differences between these two categories. If I were to talk about structural models, then please note this, that structural models, they focus on this very important question: what causes default? Okay, when you try and build a structural model, you will start off by making assumptions about what are referred to as causal drivers of default. Okay, so in a structural model, you would choose to work with variables that help you explain what causes default. When it comes to a reduced form model, you will not make any such assumptions about causal drivers of default. Instead, a reduced form model would try to focus on answering this question: when does default occur, and not why does default occur or what causes default. Okay. Next, please note this, that default in a structural model is endogenous to the model. Okay, default happens or occurs from within. On the other hand, when it comes to a reduced form model, default is exogenous to the model. Okay, in a reduced form model, default is kind of inflicted upon the firm. Okay, it occurs because of some event which is outside to the firm. Okay, now in a structural model, because it's based on those causal drivers of default, we can chart out, or let's say draw out, something called a path to default. In a structural model, we clearly define the event wherein default happens. In that event, we can figure out what are the possible values which our chosen variables can take. And if, let's say, I were to connect the values of those variables as of today, when default has not happened, with the values that these variables are likely to take in the default event, what I have in front of me is something called a path to default. Okay, and as I am nearing default, default in a structural model becomes all the more predictable. Okay, when it comes to a reduced form model, please remember this, that default is a very random event. It comes across as a total surprise. Default in a reduced form model can happen because of, let's say, an adverse scientific discovery that has happened. Let's say because of an adverse regulation that has been enacted, because of, let's say, investors coming to know of the fictitious nature of the financial statements of the firm. Let's say investors come to know that the financial statements of the firm, they are doctored in some way. Next, please note this, that a structural model in essence is an economic model. The underpinnings of a structural model lie in option pricing theory. Okay, in a structural model, we try and represent, let's say, various components of the liabilities of the firm in terms of simple vanilla options, call options and put options. And then we try and value these options using option pricing theory. When it comes to reduced form models, in a sense, these models are statistical models. We try and observe all the information which is available to us. We try and pick variables that we want to work with, and then we combine these variables and all the information that is available to us in such a way so that we kind of maximize the performance of a reduced form model. Performance in terms of the ability of the model to predict default. Okay, now let's do this. Let's try and peek inside each of these two categories of models, and let's take a look at how each of these models work. When I talk about, let's say, a structural model, default in a structural model is expressed as a function of the economic characteristics of the issuer. These economic characteristics can be, for example, the levels of the assets, the riskiness of the assets as measured by, let's say, the standard deviation or volatility, the structuring of the cash flows which come from the assets and how these cash flows are divided between the equity holders and debt holders. Or let's say a structural model can even choose to work with the leverage which the firm has chosen to work with. Leverage is the ratio of debt to equity. Okay. If I were to talk about the simplest structural model, which is the Merton's model, in this model, first of all, we assume that the liabilities of the firm are actually quite simple. Debt is just zero coupon debt with face value D and maturity capital T. Default condition is simply defined as this event wherein the assets as of this time T, which is the maturity of these zero coupon bonds, is less than, the level of the assets is less than the face value of the zero coupon bonds. Okay, that means at this time capital T, when bond holders liquidate the assets of the firm, the proceeds from this liquidation fall short of the amount which has to be paid to the debt holders, and hence debt holders incur a loss. Okay, in this model, equity holders, their payoff resembles the payoff of a call option. Okay, equity holders only get paid if the level of the assets at this time capital T is greater than D. Otherwise, they get paid a zero. Therefore, the value of equity as of today should be equal to the value of a call option with the firm's assets as the underlying, with this D as the strike, with this capital T as the expiry. Okay, since equity plus debt is equal to assets, debt should be equal to assets minus equity, which we know is a call on these assets, and therefore debt should be equal to assets minus call on assets. This tells me that debt holders are the owners of these assets and debt holders have written a call option on the firm's assets and sold this call option to the equity holders. Okay. Next, let's now talk about a reduced form model. I've already told you this, that a reduced form model chooses to focus on when does default happen. And therefore, at the heart of a reduced form model, we have this random variable, which is the random default time of your issuer. Okay. What we need is the distribution of this random default time, and the distribution of this random default time is actually linked to this mathematical construct, this mathematical concept called the default intensity, also referred to as the hazard rate. Okay, default intensity or hazard rate is represented by lambda, and intuitively speaking, I can think of default intensity to be a mathematical concept that tells me what should be the conditional probability of my issuer defaulting in the upcoming tiny time period, conditional upon it having survived till the point in time at which I am currently standing at. Okay, so when you take this lambda and you properly time scale it, it will give you the conditional probability of default over the upcoming tiny time period, conditional upon survival till the current time. Okay, how do you get this lambda? A reduced form model tries to arrive at this lambda by, in some sense, digesting all sorts of public data, public information that is available. Okay, this data can be, for example, market data, which includes data pertaining to default-free bonds, data pertaining to defaultable bonds which have been issued by this same issuer whose credit risk we are trying to model, data pertaining to credit default swaps with this issuer as the reference entity, data pertaining to recoveries. Okay, information which can be used for backing out this lambda may include ratings and rating transitions, information about firm-specific characteristics, and also information pertaining to macroeconomic variables. Okay, so the state of the business cycle can be accommodated in a reduced form model. Okay, the output of this entire effort is the value of lambda. Lambda can be a constant, lambda can have a term structure to it. Okay, next, let's do this. Let's finish off this video by taking a look at the pros and cons of these two types of models. When it comes to a structural model, a big upside of a structural model is that it gives you a lot of clarity about the nature of default. Okay, a structural model will tell you how the various economic characteristics that you've chosen to work with relate with each other when default happens. Okay, a structural model, please note, can be quite intuitive, can be quite simple when you actually devise such a model. But challenges with respect to a structural model come up when you try and implement such a model. For example, if I were to try and implement the simple Merton's model, which we just now talked about, for such a model, first of all, assets of the firm may not be publicly traded, and hence you don't know what the level of the assets is. Number two, and the trickier problem actually, is that the volatility of these assets may be not observable. Okay, this volatility has to be backed out using some other means. And also, in the simple Merton's model, we assumed that the liability structure is a simple one. Okay, the debt is a single zero coupon bond with maturity capital T. In reality, debt will be coupon bonds, and it will be a mix of short-term bonds and long-term bonds. So it becomes difficult to find out what the default barrier is. That means what's the level below which the assets have to fall for us to say that default has happened. Okay? Now, coming on to reduced form models, a downside of these models is that these models don't give us any information about the nature of default. The lambda, which we back out as part of a reduced form model, can have very little connection with what the financial statements of the firm are projecting, or let's say reflecting, in that situation of default. Okay, an upside of a reduced form model is that it works with observable and public information. Okay, it works with information which is reactive to market events. Then, please note this, that because a reduced form model takes all this information as an input, the outputs which come from a reduced form model, they provide a better fit to what we observe in the market, what we observe in reality. Okay, if I were to come back to a structural model, for example, a credit spread number coming out of a structural model may be quite low compared to what we observe in reality. Okay, but the number coming out from a reduced form model will be a much closer, a much better fit. Lastly, please note this, that because in essence a reduced form model is a statistical model, it is exposed to this very specific type of model risk wherein your sample may not be representative of the entire population, which means that the data that you've chosen to work with may not be representative of the true environment wherein your reduced form model will eventually be used in. Okay, this video was a quick run through of the differences between these two broad categories of credit risk models: structural models and reduced form models.